Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Chris and today we're taking a look at a rather iconic building in Kingsbridge, Devon, the Kingsbridge Union Work House, which was built in 1837 to house, as they called them in those days, 350 inmates at a cost of just over £5,000. Reading from the census of 1881, there were 144 inmates. Many of them were classed as idiots. They were either blind, deaf, they could be dumb idiots. They were just generally very, very unfortunate poor people. Virginia Murch wrote in her excellent book Song of Salcombe, which was based on the Murch family who lived in Salcombe in the late 1800s, that Ellen Murch, the mother, was constantly in fear of poverty all throughout her life. And even from Salcombe she spoke of the Kingsbridge Poor House, which was set in extensive grounds back from Fore Street and visible from everywhere around the town. Was in Fore Street one day, Fore Street Salcombe, and came across an elderly couple sitting on the wall in front of Council Quay. Their names were Bill and Betsy Dosemay, and they were itinerant crop pickers from Cornwall. They'd walked from Ivybridge, where they'd been digging potatoes. Both had terrible arthritis due to sleeping out in all weathers. Betsy's hands were so swollen that her fingers looked like shapeless and knobbly, just like the vegetables she garnered. Bill walked so bent over that he could only look at your face if you spoke to him by twisting his head sideways. They had nothing and nowhere to go, and they were in despair. Betsy was too weak to carry on walking, and so Ellen Murch took them in and allowed them to sleep in her shed. Betsy and Bill couldn't stay sleeping in the shed, so they were taken to the workhouse in Kingsbridge. They were sent to different areas, he to the men's ward and she to the women's. They were perhaps in their mid-70s and they had never been apart before. It broke their hearts. Bill unfortunately died first. He was too proud to accept that he could no longer take care of his wife. Betsy did not die, but it would perhaps have been better if she had, because her mind went and she wept constantly for her husband. There is an example of how hard life was in the late 1890s in and around Kingsbridge and Salcombe. In 1930 the system was abolished and it became the Public Assistance Institution, which ran until 1948, before mainly workhouses were beginning to close down. As the workhouses closed down, the Kingsbridge Workhouse, which became latterly known as Homelands, closed also. The Poor House in South Milton, now a private residence. Over the years now, Kingsbridge Workhouse closed, and more recently it's become a variety of workshops, builder's yard and various storage facilities. And interestingly, the centre section in the rear building you see there, or which is not there actually, was actually lost to fire around about 1959, so that whole centre section was lost to fire. The last look around Kingsbridge, looking back down the estuary towards Salcombe, coming around and looking at the main town, and then into view comes the old workhouse, still standing there very majestically. And as we carry on round, Redford Estate now has sprung up here, and the old railway line used to go out just out. And just a last look at the inside of a workhouse. Although these places look like prisons and the people who resided in them were often called inmates, here's a group that were photographed outside of the front of the garden at Kingsbridge Work House, they were very often free to come and go from the workhouse, but it was just extremely hard times. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it interesting, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and we'll clear the air here with a lovely photograph looking down Kingsbridge Estuary to Salcombe.